Stephanie, right? Would you call the roll? Excuse me?
Jennifer.
Jennifer. Why did I say Stephanie? You just told me your name.
Okay.
We're substituting today. So Jennifer, Stephanie, would you call the roll, please? Or Jennifer? Jennifer, call the
Commissioner Brown?
Say Brown. Present.
Present. Commissioner Craig Clements?
Present.
Commissioner Fudge? Commissioner Meacham?
Present.
Commissioner Reenman Phillip? Commissioner Schultz? Commissioner Zackritz?
Present.
You have a quorum.
Barely. Okay, thank you very much, and sorry for the mix-up. Get flustered. Okay, I'd like to go over the meeting procedure that's on the back of the cover page for the agenda. The chairman will announce each case and ask interested parties to indicate their presence by raising their hand. Commissioners will discuss details of the case, calling on staff for details. Following this discussion, commissioners may choose to ask questions of parties present. Interested persons may speak to support or protest the application. The applicant will be entitled to one brief rebuttal. Interaction between applicant and protestants on the floor is not permitted. Persons speaking are asked to approach the center podium one at a time to introduce themselves by name and address, and sign in too, please, and to present their position as succinctly as possible. The Commission asks each speaker to limit his or her remarks to no more than 5 minutes. Following the public hearing on an application, the Commission will take one of the following actions. 1, approve the certificate of appropriateness. 2, continue the proposal. 3, deny the proposal with prejudice, which means the application may not be resubmitted for at least 1 year unless the Commission determines that circumstances have changed. Or deny the proposal without prejudice, which means the applicant may reapply at any time. When an application has been approved and after a 10-day protest period has expired, the Historic Preservation Officer will mail the CA to the applicant. City construction permits cannot be issued until the CA has been issued. Contact HP staff for final design review inspection or to withdraw items that will not be completed. And finally, any person aggrieved by any decision granting or denying a CA may appeal to the Oklahoma City Board of Adjustment. All appeals shall be made within 10 days of the Commission decision by filing a written notice of appeal with the clerk of the BOA. Okay, with that, let's go to from the Office of the Historic Preservation Officer. Katie?
Nothing to report, although I will note that we are down 2 commission members from people stepping off the commission for various reasons. And we will be working with the mayor's office to appoint new members to the commission. If anyone that is a resident of Oklahoma City is interested in serving on the commission, there is a spot on the city's website where you can submit an application. You don't have to live in the district, in a historic district, although a certain number of the commission members do have to live in historic districts. People can contact our office if they have questions about that. That's all.
And the pay is really good, too. So.
Yeah.
All right. If anybody's interested, it's an interesting process. Acceptance of the minutes of previous meeting. Anybody have comments on the minutes? Or
To approve.
okay.
Second.
Been moved by Neela Crank Clemens and seconded by Mary Jo Meacham. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, minutes are approved or accepted. On to code enforcement report. Are there any comments? Anybody from city or Katie? Comment?
I don't think we have anyone from code enforcement here today. As always, I'll just note that the code enforcement report, which is part of the packet and it's available online, lists properties that have received a notice of violation or that have progressed to an actual citation. If it has that citation number, you can follow up with code enforcement or with the city's action center and find out more information. You can always call HP staff with questions as well.
Okay. Any questions from the commission? No? Continuance announcements and requests? None.
No new requests.
Okay. And public hearings?
No dilapidated structures this month, and then we have 4 National Register nominations.
Okay.
And Sarah Warnicki from the State Historic Preservation Office is here and can answer some questions about each of these. We'll just briefly go through each one, and then each one does require a separate motion to forward a recommendation to City Council and then on to the Preservation Review Committee and National Park Service.
Okay.
So the first one up is the Oklahoma National Guard Armory at 200 Northeast 22nd Street. This is a project where we anticipate historic tax credits being used, so that was the motivation in part, for pursuing the National Register nomination. It was built in 1938 and is significant for its history and for its architecture, and is representative of, armory buildings that were built across the state in the, pre-World War II, but Great Depression era kind of building boom for this type of a structure. And the report talks a lot about the importance of having this type of facility right near the state capitol.
Okay, great.
Anybody have questions for Sarah?
Did you do all these? You've been busy.
Yes, Oklahoma City's been busy this month. But no, we do have some of the consultants who worked on these. But yeah, I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? You look good. We'd like to see them. So this would be on the first one, the armory. So this is the Capital Medical District?
Yes, and I will say they have already reviewed, their Historic Preservation Commission reviewed these as well and recommended approval. We're the body that's officially required to see them because we're a certified local government, but they
okay.
went to both bodies because of that zoning district's
Okay.
separate status.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is the fourth of 4 meetings with the city on this one and probably the next one's
Yep.
nomination for review.
So this
It's a
one,
process.
each one will need a motion and a second to recommend the nomination and adopt the resolution.
Okay, so let's take one at a time.
I moved that we recommend the nomination of the,
Oklahoma National.
what is it called? Oklahoma National Guard Armory at 200 Northeast 23rd Street to the State Historic, to City Council, Oklahoma Historic Preservation Review Committee, State Historic Preservation Officer, Keeper of the National Register, and adopt the resolution as provided as part of the staff report.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
And Ann? Motion made by Neela Crane Clements, a second by Ann Zakritz. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that one is sent on. Was there any doubt? Next.
The next property is basically right next door. It's the State Highway Department Testing Laboratory at 2311 North Central Avenue. And this is another state facility that was built to test road construction materials, which was very interesting to learn all about, and is significant under Criterion A for its history, politics, and government, and under Criterion C for architecture.
Any questions?
And this is also part of a historic tax credit project.
Yes.
Is this part of the Coop Brewery development?
It is. Both of those.
Okay.
Both the armory and this one.
Yeah.
Okay. Looks good. Any questions for Sarah? Or motion?
I make a motion to forward a recommendation to go forward for the State Highway Department Testing Laboratory, as noted in the staff report.
Okay.
Second.
Moved by Mary Jo Meacham and seconded by Neela Crane Clements. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, that one's been sent on also. You're on a roll. Next.
The third one is the Iroquois Apartments at 900 Northwest 13th Street. This property is an apartment building that was built during kind of an apartment building boom. There is a multi-property documentation form that was prepared several years ago for Midtown Brick Box Apartments, and this one falls under that kind of umbrella piece of documentation. So it's architecturally significant for the design and the architecture of the building and for its historic association with that specific period of development in Midtown, Oklahoma City.
Okay.
This is also undergoing rehabilitation for historic tax credits.
Yes.
And this also goes to, this is in the Downtown Design Review District, so it'll be going through that review as well. So
Okay.
lots of forms and lots of meetings.
Yes.
It's all worth it in the end.
All worth it.
And this will come back to HP for consideration for any renovations or anything?
It's
No?
the south side of 13th.
Just
so it doesn't
PRC?
hit us.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, I recommend approval, or I'm sorry, nomination of the Iroquois Apartments and adopt the resolution provided in the staff report.
Is there a second?
Second.
Did somebody second? Oh, moved by Neela Crank Clemens, seconded by Mary Jo Meacham. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, and that one is also sent on. One more.
All right. Harmony School at 1537 Northeast 24th Street is an elementary school that was designed by Leighton Hicks and Forsyth, an architectural firm that built many of Oklahoma City schools during a school boom in the 20s. It's when so many of these schools were built all over the city. This school is, so it's architecturally significant for its design. There's also historic significance associated with court battles to desegregate public schools in Oklahoma City. And this was played a key role in those efforts.
Okay. That's good. Any questions on this? One. Okay.
Sarah, that one's a tax credit project as
Yes.
well?
Yes. Yeah, all 4 of these are tax credit projects.
They usually are. Okay, is there a motion?
I make a motion to forward the recommendation as per staff's information included in the staff report.
Okay.
I'll second.
Did you do it, Klaus?
Yeah.
Okay, it's been moved by Mary Jo Meacham and seconded by Klaus Ryman Phillip. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, it's
Excellent.
4 for 4.
Excellent. Thank you guys so much.
Okay, thank you. Good job.
We have 2 items on the consent docket,
Okay.
unless anyone has questions about those.
We'd like to have them one or both considered. Or a motion for,
And if there's no comments from the commission, then they will just approve these in one motion. But
so, any questions or a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent docket.
Second.
Moved by Klaus Ryman Phillip, and second by Ann Zackwitz. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, consent docket is approved, and if you were on it, you're approved, you can leave. Thank you. All right, D, individual.
HPCA 18-00184 at R1, or 184R1, Revision 1, at 904 Northwest 37th Street, Crown Heights, Ward 2. Consideration and possible action on application by Mary and Joel Lopez for certificate of appropriateness to item 2, replace driveway and retaining wall elective. 4, revise approved proposal to construct garage elective to increase pitch of roof and install parking at rear elective. And this was this is a garage that the commission has already approved the construction. It was approved with the condition that a 12-12 pitch roof be reduced to 6-12, and the applicant came back after the meeting and said they'd really like to come back to the commission and ask for a 9-12 pitch roof. So,
Yeah.
Yes, I'm Tim Farmer. I'm the designer on the project for the Lopez family. And the reason that they would like a taller pitch, even as much as a 12-12, is that they could use that for storage since this is a duplex, and they would like to have that as a storage unit on top and parking below for the tenants.
Yeah.
Now, I did provide, we went back out, we measured all the pitches, and I did provide some information that shows that the main body of the house is a 12-12, and then the rear section is a 6-12 on the back side.
Yeah, and that's what we were responding to. Usually the garages are not as prominent as the front part of the house.
Right.
That's where we got the
And-
6-12. However, I think the 9-12 might be a good compromise. It's the proportion between the the proportion between the
Okay.
the walls and the roof height, it looks really kind of top-heavy with
Right.
an 8-foot wall and then a
It can be tall, yes.
12-foot gable on top of it. So I don't know what you guys think, but
So we recommended a 612 last time,
Yeah.
right?
Right, that's
So what circumstances changed other than, I mean, you can still store things in there, but I'm just trying to
Well,
understand.
the width of the building is such that you've got about 4 feet where you can't really get up inside that area with a 612, which is what you see now from the existing garage. We just would like to get it a little taller so we could get access to that area for storage.
I remember our discussion, and really, it was just kind of a suggestion. I mean, we were like, no, we don't like the 1212, and we were kind of guessing, hey, we weren't really sure. I feel comfortable now that he's come back with the drawing that, it,
at 912?
at 912, that's a good compromise. We were saying match that other one, but it is
Right.
really low, and it would be difficult to,
Yeah, and we're not even sure that's the original pitch. It was replaced at some time, so. But thank you.
Okay.
We had a few other items. The driveway replacement, just a section at the street. Right now, it has a drive that does this, and it's really impossible for smaller cars to make that. We just want to flatten that out, and I think I provided that in your drawings there for just kind of make it more friendly to the vehicles, and with that, we won't need any kind of retaining wall. What's there now is just kind of curbs. It's not really a retaining wall, and when we raise it, it'll just be right at ground level. You can see the curves there, and it's it's really bad angle when you hit that.
Okay.
I appreciate that you provided some other examples of houses that have a similar condition where you have maybe some, especially here on page 18 of 43 in the report. It's really kind of a similar house. Actually, the house is a little bit shorter maybe, but it has gables, kind of, and it looks like the garage in the back is probably about 1212 maybe 912, kind of tough to tell, but it still reads as secondary to the primary structure. I don't know if I really have any issues with that personally.
Okay.
Oh, it's out of order. Okay. There we go. Okay. Okay.
what would so you're removing the left retaining wall?
Yeah, actually, it will be both sides, the curbs there. Because the way we're going to come in, it'll be right at ground level, and they won't be required anymore.
Oh, I see.
For whatever reason, the original came in, or whenever that version came in, it comes in almost straight and then hits the incline, and it just needs to be corrected for, vehicles, and it won't change really anything except it'll be just pretty much flat with the ground there.
On the drawing, it says new retaining wall.
That was before, I sent that in a little premature on to what we ended up deciding to
Okay.
do, so.
So you're saying raising the elevation of the driveway will
It'll rectify.
result in no need for the retaining walls?
Yes, ma'am.
That's good.
Is there another item? Parking at rear.
Right, we wanted to expand, being a duplex, it's nice to have a little extra parking in the back. If we could add that, we would, and widen the drive there as we go back.
Is that shown?
Page 16 of 43.
16.
I think the condition that was recommended in the staff report was that the paving not widen until it got to that back corner of the house, and not
Okay.
pave all along the side of the house, so keep
Okay.
that landscaped
Right,
at the foundation wall, basically.
okay.
Well, is there a photograph of the back of the house?
Katie, on the retaining wall, since he now no longer needs it, does that just get pulled from the application?
Or do they get demolished, too?
I'm
I
sorry.
don't know if changes, I'm just asking her about.
I think that saying replace driveway and retaining wall, we are saying it's inferred that we are replacing it with what they've proposed. If
Okay.
that makes sense. So,
Okay.
So the retaining wall will come out.
yep.
Yeah.
So the image on the screen shows that back corner of the house. So staff's recommendation was just that the paving not extend over to the side. Go back to the one you were on, right there. In that bottom corner, they had it drawn where the concrete would come all the way to the house and run down the side of the house. And this was just to keep
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
I agree with that. I'd kind of like to see a little bit of landscaping behind the house, too.
Right, and we still have a nice-sized yard on the east there beside the drive and then on back. I'm not sure if you have a picture of that, but
There's no picture of the back of the house, but could the drive be pulled back from the back of the house? Say, are those steps on your site plan? Are those steps on the back?
right. Sure.
You know, so you have the steps coming down and then a planting bed. It'd be nicer than concrete going right up to the house.
Right, okay.
Okay. So the depth of the steps, if that's what those are. It'd be nice to
Yeah,
have a
that's,
photograph.
it's pretty tall in the back. There's, I think, 3 or 4 steps coming down out of the house.
Right, okay. Okay.
So Katie, if the applicant kind of kept the curvature of the driveway where it turns to the back, and then maybe have that paving even with the stairs, do you feel that's something you could approve?
Yes, yep, we can get that revised with them.
Okay.
And let's see.
Doesn't look like there's dimensions on that parking in the back. At least I don't see it on the site plan.
They're going to have to submit a revised site plan, so
Yeah,
we can.
we'll
put
get
the
new drawings that have measurements on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm not sure where the rest of the commission stands on the roof pitch for the garage, but the window in the end, I don't know, proportionally, if you had the 12-12 pitch, it seems almost like it's a little too high, you know, up against the rafters maybe. I don't know, it kind of looks like it's kind of jammed up on top. I know if there's an option to, if that were approved, maybe shift that window a bit lower so it kind of sits better on that gable.
Yeah,
Well,
I think they removed the windows in the last,
Oh, did we? Okay.
I believe.
The 912 pitch, there's no window.
Okay, perfect. I'm
Yeah,
trying to find,
we had one
If we
previously on
approve
the
the
12.
912 pitch.
I might be looking at the wrong drawing then.
Yeah, page 13.
Oh, here we are. Okay.
Yeah, we were asked to remove that last meeting.
Okay. That was just for information, which is good to see what you had before. I think it's improved.
Yeah.
Okay?
Thank you.
Okay. I would make a motion to approve the following items for case HPCA 18000184. Item 1, replacing the driveway and the retaining wall with the specific findings that the retaining wall will be permanently removed, that new concrete must match existing and age finish, and the parking, it's all parking. And the parking located behind the house will be only minimally visible, with the condition
Yeah.
that the driveway will not widen to abut the wall of the house along the entire side of the building. And there will be, and the second condition would be a revised site plan to be submitted to staff with dimensions.
Joe's, your microphone, it's on. Is it working?
I don't know if I have a pencil. Can you hear me now? I'm sorry, do you want me to start over?
Did you get it?
There? Okay, I'm sorry. So the conditions were, just to make sure, that the driveway
better.
will not widen and you'll send it, that you will get a revised site plan with dimensions. Okay, that's item 1 and 2, I guess.
Okay?
Item 4 would be to approve the amendment of the pitch of the roof to the 912 with the specific findings as noted in the staff report. Are there any that? I think that's it.
And the parking? Did you talk about that?
The parking was, I'm sorry.
That was the
parking
previous item.
It was a part of, yeah, it was
Okay.
listed under item 2, although it was number 5 on the front sheet.
Our numbering gets odd when we have a revision, but we'll straighten it out.
Okay,
You covered all the items.
okay, thank you.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Kind of looking down here. Okay. Been moved by Mary Jo Meacham, and seconded by Klaus Ryman Philip. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, been approved with
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
conditions. Yeah, thank you. Next.
HPCA 19-48 at 1421 Northwest 38th Street, Putnam Heights, Ward 2. Consideration and possible action on application by Chris Carr for certificate of appropriateness to 1, replace fence and gate required.
Okay.
Afternoon.
Could you state your name and
My name is Chris Carr,
an address?
1421 Northwest 38th.
Okay, and you need to sign in also.
Okay.
Ms. Carr, were you aware that you were in an HP district before the work was done?
Yes.
Okay. We always hate to see when people do the work and then come to ask us if they can do it, and we have to tell them, no.
Well, to be honest, it was just to repair the back fence, the very, very back fence. And there was a wall back there, which was not, we couldn't repair. It had to be knocked down. And I was not home, and all was built. But I understand the front part of it, and I did look at the other properties on both sides of me on the extending the 6-foot fence there, going out too far. Now we have on our west side a Airbnb or a shared home house now, which even wants me to have more privacy than what I did. But I can see moving the fence back past the front porch so that it lines up with everybody on this side of my street on 38th Street.
So let me ask, the fence along the back portion where the gate is, and then the part that juts out, just rounds the corner there, kind of an L shape, that is currently 8 feet tall?
In the very back, yes.
And then the lower portion is currently 6 feet tall?
Yes.
Okay.
And just to be clear, the portion of the fence running east-west with the gate in it is set back. The setback for that fence meets the guidelines, but it exceeds the height that the guidelines allow. The front portion comes forward of what the guidelines allow. The guidelines would say that it needed to be set back at a minimum behind the front wall of the house or behind any adjacent front porches, and then because it's not transparent, it would need to be back 40% of the length of the side yard. And I believe you've got those dimensions kind of noted on the site plan in your staff report. So kind of at issue is how far forward that fence comes as well as the height of that fence.
So Katie, the guidelines would direct her to do what to make the fence in line with the guidelines?
So the portion with the gate running east-west would need to be reduced in height to 6 feet, no more than 6 feet. The portion running north-south between her property and the property to the west would need to be pushed back so that it is back 40% of the length of the side yard rather than coming forward of the porch. And
So would that be the 6 plus 8, 24 feet on the markup?
is it 28 feet? I'm looking at Angela, it would need to be back 28 feet,
28 feet?
where that's marked on your site plan.
That's 20, that's the 40%.
Yes.
Okay.
And the north-south fence, it can be 6 feet tall if it's site-proof, or it must be?
Yes, it can be 6 feet tall up to that 40% mark.
Gotcha, okay, okay. Okay. Okay, Ms. Carr, would you be willing to do that, make those changes?
Well, yes, I'll be willing to do whatever I need to do. I'd just like to keep I would like to keep a little bit more of the north side fence because of the traffic, car traffic that's going to be next door to me. I'm willing to do whatever you would like me to do. But there is going to be a lot of traffic when they do rent their house, the part of the downstairs of their house. I'd just like to have a little bit more privacy on the car issue and the parking. And I really would like to just move it back right past the front or the beginning of the front porch. And that's about, I think one panel would be your recommendation for your setback. The half panel would be right past the front porch, so the whole front porch would show on both sides, on the west side.
So one option would be a transparent fence could come, a transparent fence only has to be set back 6 feet from that front corner, which would be probably about what you're describing. You had a transparent fence there before, a chain link fence. You could do a chain link or you could do a wrought iron style transparent fence, and then you could always plant landscape screening there to provide a little additional privacy.
But the transparent fence was not on my property, it was on
The neighboring
neighboring property, yes.
But that's what the guidelines would allow as far as fencing that comes forward of that 40% mark.
I don't really see any special circumstances where I would say that we would deviate from our kind of fence regulations. I feel like that's one of the items in our guidelines that are pretty clearly defined. I think if it's not site-proof, if you did a transparent fence and did some landscaping, I feel like that would probably give you a pretty good measure of privacy, pretty close to your porch. But
I've got a question on that markup again. There's several numbers on there. The blue numbers, 6 and 18, I think I know 6 is for a transparent fence. What was the 18? And then there's the 28. What were those? Because I'm thinking that the 18 was the 40%, not the 28, which would allow a little more.
Oh, I think the 18 is the 40%. I think 28 is how far back the gate is.
Okay.
Sorry, I was misreading that.
Okay, so
That gate is 28 feet back. The fence running down the side property line needs to be set back 18 feet. A transparent fence could sit back 6 feet.
right. Okay, so 28 versus 18, you could move that fence forward 10 feet.
Back 10
Is
feet.
28 feet where it is right now? Is that right?
Yes.
So 40% would be 18, so you could move it forward 10 feet.
Oh, it's a transparent fence,
No, as a solid fence.
a solid fence.
Yeah, or opaque, as it's called.
But I need to move it back how many feet from where it is back toward the gate?
You could move it forward 10 feet.
The fence along the side would need to move back.
Oh, 36 minus something. Looks like about 10 feet. You could
Well, it
have,
would need to move back 18 plus the depth of the porch.
right. It looks like it would have, 10 feet would about align where it goes from 6 to 8 in that photograph, more or less. Of course, it needs to be reduced to 6.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yes, so from where the end of the fence is, I need to move it back 18 feet. And I can keep the fence at 6 feet.
I'm sorry, I'm a little confused now. So it needs to go back 18 feet from where it is now, but she can keep it at 6 feet
Angela?
on the side. Is that right?
It needs to be set back 18 feet from the front corner of the house.
Right.
Okay.
So not where it is, so it's 18 feet plus whatever the depth of the
Okay.
porch is, which is
Okay.
usually about 8 feet, but whatever that measurement. We measure from the front wall of the house, not the front of the front porch.
Okay.
And that back
Closed
portion, the portion that runs north and south, that's further back, furthest back, closest to the gate, needs to be reduced to 6 feet
In height.
in
Correct.
height,
Yep.
as does the fence that runs east-west. Okay, I wanted to make sure I understood.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm still not.
I think visually, without verifying dimensions, it might be basically if you remove those 2 lower panels and then kept the rest of it but lowered it to 6 feet. if I'm correct.
It looks like it'd be about where 18 feet would be. We're talking about the rest of the fence too, correct? Needs to be lowered to 6 feet?
I
No,
believe everything else,
would have to be transparent.
you mean on the back portion?
Yeah,
of
the back
yard?
portion
Yeah.
that runs
The
east-west.
fence at the rear of the yard meets the guidelines.
Okay.
Isn't that 8 feet tall?
The back fence can be 8 feet tall.
Right.
The side has to be 6.
So we're talking about all of the
But-
west side.
I'm sorry, I thought you could have an 8-foot-tall fence at the back of your property line.
Yes,
Yes.
This is at the back of the property line.
this is.
This one.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm talking about
That's
the,
8.
where the gate is.
Oh, no, so that would have to be 6.
Okay.
Plus the entire west
Okay.
side would have to be 6.
So I have a thought. I think it sounds like what the commission is willing to approve is a fence that meets the guidelines for administrative approval. So perhaps what makes the most sense is to approve it on the condition that you revise to meet the guidelines for administrative approval, and we can work that out.
Okay.
The tape
Yeah.
measure.
I'm good with
With the
that.
applicant, rather than all of us calculating here.
To be clear for the applicant, does that mean that the side fence from the front to the back has to be 6 feet tall to get approval?
Yes.
Yes.
The entire west fence.
I just want to make sure you understand that before we approve you all to work together, that would be part of the,
In the back also?
Yeah,
Or
just the
just the
side.
front?
just the
The west
whole
side.
side fence.
The west side
I
and
thought
the
that
front.
the west side was, in the back was approved for the 8-foot. Okay. 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 My only objection to it is the back. Because I can get whatever documentation that you need, but we do have a hot tub that's hot and cold that my husband uses for therapy. We want all that to, the reason that we put the 8-foot up is for privacy. We can get our doctor's approval,
Right.
letter to you if we need that.
So
And-
you're questioning the back fence?
Yes.
It's 8 feet, correct? Oh,
The fence behind the gate.
Oh,
Along
the
the
west
side.
side.
The west side.
Samantha.
There's a
sign.
garage there on the other property, I would think would provide significant privacy.
Where is the hot tub?
It's in the
located?
middle of the yard. It's past their garage.
It seems like
We had
privacy
had
from
problems
second floor
and
windows.
people coming into the yard from both sides because property to the west side was vacant for many years there. So that's the reason we did that side. The back, we just did it because we had people coming. We had to call the police a lot for people coming over that fence and because it was vacant. And from 39th Street. In fact, I've had problems since I've moved there with people in the backyard. But our biggest thought and worry right now is just him having privacy to be able to do the therapy instead of going to a therapy facility. That's why we installed it.
Is that a special circumstance, a unique circumstance? I mean, I don't know that it is.
What does the 8-foot fence provide that
Yeah.
a 6-foot fence
Right,
doesn't?
right.
Well, and I'm wondering.
Because if you're on the
this is-
second floor, you could still see into your
Over an
yard
8-foot
from the
fence,
house next door, even if you had an 8-foot fence.
Unless you're an
Or a
NBA.
10-foot fence or a 12-foot fence, for that
Unless
matter.
you're an NBA
hope-
player, you can't see
But I'm
over
hoping
6
my
feet.
neighbor's not doing that.
I'm wondering if another way to address those privacy concerns that would maybe provide even more screening would be to look at some sort of a pergola or a trellis structure, because your mid-block, it would be screened. We could approve something like that in the backyard. We could approve it administratively if you, we can work with you on the guidelines for that. And it could be right around where the hot tub is, so that it truly is screening it instead of it just being
Setting.
a couple of extra feet on a fence that's 25 feet away.
Yeah, the closer you are to the hot tub, the more screening it
We
would.
generally don't recognize
Right.
kind of people's, not lifestyle, because this is obviously not like a hobby to be doing physical therapy, but
Well, when you've had
usually unique circumstances
circumstance.
have to deal with the physical condition of the site, the topography and things like that.
You could also consider tall plantings at the fence line that would provide additional privacy. But I don't see that there's a unique circumstance to veer away from what the guidelines allow.
Because really, the extra
fencing.
2 feet wouldn't do much.
Sorry, you've already done the work.
Well, I mean, I understand, but the other reason we did that is because there's Dobermans like catty-cornered from us that had jumped the fence, and dogs jumping the fence. Our neighbor now, they do have small children, and I think they appreciate that tall fence. I would just like to keep the back, is what I'm asking, to be
I
approved.
think we don't see a unique circumstance for the property to allow us to approve you keeping an 8-foot tall fence at the side.
And by the back, you mean the
Yeah.
west side?
In the back.
Yeah.
On the west side.
On the west side. The north side's fine.
Yep.
What
So-
about the east side? We haven't
Are you next
replaced
to a
that one.
commercial building? I mean, I think there's
Well, I
provisions in
mean,
the
we have an
guidelines.
east side that was not fenced or replaced, since this is all
Yeah, I
happening.
mean, I don't know. You'd have to work with staff on that. That's not part of
It's not part of
this
the application.
application, so we couldn't comment on that.
Okay,
But I think,
So staff's recommending continue to let you work with staff and
Okay.
come back.
I think approve on the condition that they meet guidelines for administrative approval.
Okay,
okay.
all right.
I move to approve HPCA 19-00048 with the condition that the applicant or owner revise the application to meet the guidelines for administrative approval.
Okay,
Yes.
all right. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Neela Crane Clemens, a second by Ann Zacharitz. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, been approved with condition. Thank you. And the next has been withdrawn, right?
Yep. Item 3, HPCA 19-54 was a proposed revision, and the revision has been withdrawn by the applicant.
Okay.
HPCA 19-59 at 1431 Northwest 35th Street, Putnam Heights, Ward 2, consideration and possible action on application by Sarah Jernigan McGovern for certificate of appropriateness to 3 repair/replace in kind damaged wood porch posts and paint elective. This is a property where we have administratively approved removal of metal siding that had been applied to every possible surface. With great care.
possible surface.
They very carefully wrapped every little architectural feature, which was interesting to look at. And the one item that we did not administratively approve was the porch columns, because they weren't sure what they were going to find under that metal. Their proposal is to essentially build back in wood what was wrapped in the metal. Since it wasn't a historic feature, we don't have historic photos. This is before the commission today, but staff did recommend approval.
Okay.
So what do you feel like was the historic columns?
From
after
what
all
we
this
can
research?
tell, and actually, this picture, our original picture showed when we submitted the application, but this picture right here, there was one column as we unwrapped it that looked like it was just a square wooden structure. That's like fallen over. It wasn't even like structurally connected anymore. But it looks like it would just, what we're asking is just to put a solid wood post in, a square solid wood post, and then try to match the detail that is in the picture that we could find from that original column or pier, I forget what the technical word is. But it would just to be use solid wood post to sub in for the metal wrapped 2x4s right now.
I mean, when you look at pages this, 26 of 28, is that the top of, is that at the top of a column that was either there or wrapped up?
That's the one that I was referring to that looks like it was the only, once we unwrapped it, it would look like the only original. That is, it wasn't even like secure. You could like just push it.
I mean,
And
I
so,
would take that as the original. So is your proposal to have the size of the column be that size?
yes, to match that and then to match both the bottom base trim as well as the top.
Okay.
Okay.
I would make a motion to approve HPCA 19-00059 with the specific findings and unique circumstances as noted by the staff in the staff report.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Mary Jo Meacham and seconded by Neela Clement. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, been approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
HPCA 19-85 at 705 Northwest 27th Street, Paseo, Ward 2, consideration and possible action on application by Todd Harlan, Castle Enterprises, Incorporated, for certificate of appropriateness to 5 remove paint from columns required.
Hey there.
The commission saw this application previously. We continued it so that the applicant could do a little further investigation. Staff also had an opportunity to go out and look at the columns in person. And Angela and Mr. Harlan have talked quite a bit about kind of the condition of the brick following the paint removal and some possible methods for stabilizing the brick. So that's what the recommendation in the staff report is based on.
So yeah, I found a consolidator. The sandblasting probably did deface the brick a little bit, but the detriment that's there is really a question mark. I really don't think that there's any kind of risk. But Angela had asked if I could find something that consolidated it and waterproofed it, and I talked to one of her contacts, and a guy named Eric Reber, and he said it was this Conservator H100 by ProSoco, and it penetrates the brick and bonds the individual particles together. It's not like a lot of other sealers that sit on the surface, so it'll actually get into the brick and strengthen it. And then it'll also be waterproof, and it'll breathe, so moisture won't get trapped inside.
One thing that we just earlier today thought of that I don't think you all had discussed was if you use that product, doing a test little patch before you apply it everywhere to make sure it doesn't turn purple or something crazy.
He said that it's flat. It's not shiny or anything. You won't even know it's there. So it seems like a pretty good fix, and promise never to do it again.
So, Mr. Harlan, did you already do some work to the bricks?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. You removed the paint?
Yes.
Right? Okay.
And then we also had my mason tuck point some areas where the mortar was loose.
What did you use to remove the paint?
It was sandblasting.
Oh, that's right.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. It's
wasn't-
unfortunate. It looks so different. The character of the brick has changed.
So have you learned your lesson?
Yeah, definitely. I never knew about brick baking or anything like this, and I had a hard outer surface and how you can screw that up with sandblasting, so yeah.
So you have 4 columns, looks
Yeah,
like.
yeah.
One option would be to replace that brick. Is that something that you could do?
I would
Go back with
definitely
something that
do
was
that
historic?
if, you know, it started to
It what?
crumble and fall.
Oh, uh-huh.
I was going to propose trying this consolidator sealer for now. That's kind of what they make them for damaged brick. That's a big undertaking to go re-brick it.
Yeah. It's just that sealer is not going to return it to its original condition with the deep ridges.
Sure,
That's the
yeah.
only issue I see.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if it matters, I don't know if you care to
It
hear,
sounds like
but
that you've discussed this with staff. Angela, is there anything that you would like to add?
No, I don't think so. The applicant has gone to a great deal of trouble to research some various products that may stabilize the brick for a certain period of time. I did as well, and looked at as many products as I could. There's a large variety out there. Whether or not they actually work is kind of unproven to us in particular. But with the purchase of new brick and supporting the porch for now to attempt to reconstruct those is not something that the applicant would like to undertake at this time. He's hoping that the stabilizer does in fact work and will hold these for another few years to at least keep the historic fabric in place. I'm not familiar with the product. I don't know how well it's going to work. A consolidator is something that I've not worked with before. It says that it's water resistant. It says that it is vapor permeable, so you're not going to have vapor trapped inside the piers attempting to get out. It also indicates that it's not a tacky product, so it's not going to collect dirt, and it's not shiny and will not get milky. So what I presume will happen is that when it's placed on this product, on the brick as it currently exists, is that you're not going to be able to tell it's there. Yes, it was painted. How long was it painted? I don't know. I've not been able to gather any documentation that indicates whether or not the brick was painted historically. Is it the most appropriate treatment for the brick? Possibly not. Definitely not. We know that. But stabilizing the brick at this point may be the best that we can do, unless you have some better suggestions, most definitely.
Thank you. I mean, I think right now, is if you can, keep the historic brick for, until something else, shows a problem. It sounds like this could work, so.
absolutely, yeah.
I'll also
Appreciate
add
that.
that the CA is good for a year, and at the point that the CA expires, we'll have a little flag to say, confirm that this work was complete, and we can kind of touch base with him on, it's on there, how's it look, how's it working, how's the brick holding up? We'll have been through a full, 4 seasons at that point to kind of reevaluate.
Definitely.
As Angela touched on, the applicant has been really, really good to work with, and he's been very responsive to, our feedback and information. So appreciate his, sincere desire to kind of make things right.
Yeah,
I mean,
thank
it
you.
appears that they have, that you've committed to a 3-year project here. Is that correct? I mean,
3-year.
in that, it says that you are going to record conditions for the next 3 years.
Yeah,
Is that-
I'd be
is that
happy
correct,
to.
Angela? Have y'all made
I'd be
that
happy
agreement?
to, yeah.
Oh, you didn't have that discussion? Okay. Is that the staff report?
No, that's reasonable. I mean, so that you all know that we're keeping up with our end of the bargain.
It's kind of
I can-
unusual, but it does say that you would carefully record after application and monitor, and then it gives you some dates. So if you're good for that, I will make a,
Yeah, we can actually
There's
take
that
maybe take a picture of the front of each column or something and just take it annually and
okay.
see how things have changed or haven't changed.
Well, I make a motion to approve HPCA 19-00085 with the specific findings and conditions as noted by the staff in the staff report.
I'll second that, but I would like to add a condition that you apply a test patch.
Sure.
And staff can come out and take a look. I don't know if it's one day later, or I don't know if that matters, but.
Probably manufacturer's recommendation.
Yeah.
What the product says.
Joe, do you accept that?
Yes, I
Amendment?
accept that. I'm
Okay.
in.
All right, it's been moved by Joe Meacham, second by Neela Crank-Clements. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, been approved.
Thank you, everybody, appreciate it.
Condition.
HPCA 19-89 at 704 Northwest 26th Street, Paseo, Ward 2. Consideration and possible action on application by Tim Turner, Turner and Son Homes for Warren and Nicole Altabello for certificate of appropriateness to 1, construct dwelling elective, and 2, install related paving elective.
Okay, we have a revised
Yes, we,
packet.
of all of the cases, we managed to give you the wrong attachment, our thickest one. But you do have the revised drawings at your seat that show the changes the applicant has made since the previous meeting. They made some changes to the materials that are proposed and also revised the configuration of the windows and the front porch, responding to some of the comments at the last commission meeting.
Okay.
Good afternoon. I'm Tim Turner. I'm the home builder representing Nicole and Warren Altabello at 704 Northwest 26th Street.
Okay.
I guess, would it be best if I just kind of enumerate the changes that we made that were in response to the commission recommendations last time? So the windows on the front elevation above the porch cover, they were kind of asymmetrical before, so we've modified those to center them up, make them symmetrical. One of the other concerns that the commission brought up was the fact that there wasn't really a straight shot to the front door. It was kind of closed off by that planter. So we moved the planter over to give you a straight look at the front door, so it's a little bit more architecturally appealing, fits in with the neighborhood a little bit better. And then the concern about having a lot of materials, basically. We had lap siding, we had some wood, we had some stone. So we've reduced that back to basically a lap siding veneer and brick for the planter and for the chimney. So that way we're really down to the two materials that I think are appropriate for the neighborhood. And from the previous meeting, we had that whole discussion about the access from the alley. I'd had some confusion. I think I was the one who was confused about what the zoning had required. So we resolved that issue so we can access the house and the garage from the back, from the alley. So we've got all that worked out with the city. So that allowed us to resolve the issue of having we had the house all the way up against one property line. The original zoning allowed a zero lot, but anyway, that solved that problem. So we were able to center the house on the lot.
Is there a site plan?
There is. Is it?
Is it in our packet? I looked in both. I can't.
It is page, it's rather faint. It is page 10 of 42 in your packet.
The new packet?
Yep.
Okay, 10. Oh,
But there haven't been changes to that since the previous meeting.
Sorry about
The house
that.
is in the center of the lot with garage access from the alley.
So, but the front door arrangement in the plan has changed. Is there a sidewalk approach? Can't see anything. The
I think-
existing street sidewalk, I don't see a,
Okay.
is there a,
I seem to have I guess I have the old one, or the one that went out that didn't have all the updates, but I think my site plan shows a sidewalk connecting to the city sidewalk.
from the
Is it
front
just
door?
a
Apologize, I don't
perpendicular,
have it.
typical
Yes,
sidewalk?
yeah,
From
just
the
straight
front.
from the front door to the city
Well, I
sidewalk.
would have expected that with your new elevation.
I have a few comments on the front facade.
Okay.
Just observing these, and so maybe fellow commissioners, you have some interest in weighing in. The window on the far left, the angled window, and then the top of the angled windows under the eave, I'm just wondering if there would be benefit in matching up the height of those windows as it goes up the angle, or not. Just an observation.
Looking at the front elevation?
The front elevation where, the left the angled window on the far left is so much closer to the eave line than the windows at the top, and then that line that goes down, it just, I don't know. That's just a comment.
But you're talking about the wall above the window. Yeah. Yep.
It's just not following the same angle as the angled window under the eave. That's just a comment. And then the other is on the brick on the left, you have a row brick under the window. And that brick is applied to the house? Or is that another planter? It's
That's a good question. No, that's,
applied to the house.
yeah.
And then, okay, then my question is, then you have a planter, and there is not a row brick on the top of that. So I would just, my comment is, should the top of the brick match in both cases?
Oh, I see what you're saying. On the top of the planter, like a row lock across the top.
Right, there's one on the other side, but then
Yes.
there's not one on that one.
You'd
so-
have to have something.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you've
Yeah,
got
so it's just not
exposed
shown.
brick.
Yeah, that's
Holes.
probably just oversight on my part. But yes, that would
Okay,
definitely want to have a room.
right, and I just wondered that, so that would,
What size brick are you proposing to use?
King size.
King? 9 5/8 or 10-inch module.
those are my comments.
I really appreciate you taking our comments and making the revisions that you did. And I think it's a lot improved from what we saw last month. So I appreciate you putting the effort in and making those changes.
Thank you.
And I guess I kind of second Joe Meacham's comments on the windows, and I'm not sure, something feels a little bit off just with the angled windows on the top. And part of me almost wonders if you almost eliminated just the angled windows, or maybe even, above if maybe that was more rectilinear, something. I'm not, something feels a little bit off on them, but maybe it is just the spacing between the rafter and the top of the angled window. That's really the only hang-up I really have.
Yeah.
Do we have that we can put up on here? Because I'm not...
No, we don't have the images. I can give you
okay.
mine.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, we only put the photos in the PowerPoint.
Pretty simple, actually. Looks like it would work.
Sorry, I already started drawing on it.
No, it's...
My original comment was just that it seems like, when we're talking about windows and placement and everything, that there needs to be kind of a method to our design madness. And so it would seem like that angled line that you've developed, that you could pick one. Either pick the top one and cut the window at the bottom down, or figure out a way for that line to continue.
It looks like at the top that head is aligning with the bottom
Right.
of the wood beam.
So
we're talking about this window.
That
here.
window, and then
Just-
lining up with those windows, there just seems to be...
Yeah,
Basically the bottom of the wood beam.
that makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah, so if we just change that one on the side to just, so it all planes out, that same line follows?
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then my other comment, you already said
Okay.
that was maybe just not on the drawing, so...
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, looks good. Came a long way.
Thank you.
I think they
Worked
came a
hard.
long way and addressed concerns, but I'm still kind of stuck that it looks like it was a design pulled from somewhere that they liked and put on this lot, and it's not, I still don't think it's designed for this lot or this block. And I don't think you can remedy that with the design you proposed, but that's still my feeling on it.
There is a lot of variation on that block, I'm sure you're familiar with it.
There is, and
That's
it's
a
hard
tough-
to yet bring something, another sort of style in. Just something about it, I don't know. But anyway, that's just my thoughts, so anyone else want to comment?
Anyone?
Well, I think it's a little bit, I don't know if confusing is the right word. It's almost like a bungalow, where it kind of takes a little bit of the design cues from a bungalow, but it's not quite, a bungalow, and the roof isn't symmetrical in that regard. Sometimes you might see a symmetrical roof, but then you have like a, if the porch doesn't go all the way across, maybe it's, kind of shorter gable. So even though it's still somewhat symmetrical, maybe the house itself isn't perfectly, but so I understand where you're coming from. I did, looking at this again, one hang-up I had a little bit was that the porch didn't go all the way across, or that you had part coming out, but I did go back and look at the street, and you are correct in the sense that there is quite a bit of variation on that street. I guess that's kind of, where I, some other houses where we've kind of denied certain designs, I think you had a very consistent, it's a perfect bungalow the whole way down the street or something, or it might be, American Foursquare, or it might be, very specific house style, and it is a little bit varied. Even the house, I think the applicant owns the house next door, is almost like kind of looks like a Cape Cod or some kind of different house. So it's tough for me to, you've made a lot of the changes that we've suggested, and I think it is vastly improved from, the initial iteration. I think it'll, fit in to a degree better. There's a lot of variation on the street, so I guess that's my fine.
Okay, anybody else? So good thing we got 5 people, so it won't be a tie.
Katie, are the items the same with the revisions and with the...
Yes, so the substitute materials that you had at your seats are the materials we had all along as we were writing the staff report. They just didn't get attached to your packet somehow. You got last month's attachments. So the staff report is as per what you have in front of you, if that answers your question.
Handed out at the meeting. Okay, any more comments? If I'd like to make a motion.
I'll make a motion to recommend approval of HPCA 19-00089 with the specific findings as noted in the staff report and with the conditions that the applicant provide a site plan accurately depicting the paving and that the applicant provide, what's the other condition? That to line, I guess, for the windows where they have to come in.
Revised front facade to staff.
Okay, submit a revised front facade to staff for review.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's moved by Klaus Ryman Phillip and seconded by Mary Jo Meacham. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, so we have 1 opposed. Okay, you've been approved.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks for all your
Appreciate your
work.
time.
Okay, that's a lot of paper there. Okay.
HPCA 19-108 at 1617 Classen Drive, Heritage Hills, Ward 6, consideration and possible action on application by Lee Garland for certificate of appropriateness to 1, replace front-facing fence, elective. And I believe,
I am not Lee.
okay.
He's not here. But I have talked to him, and he said that he is willing to move.
Could you tell us who you are and give us your address and sign in, please?
Power. I don't have a pen, sorry.
Did you state your name?
My name's Elizabeth Powers,
Okay.
and it is for 1617 Classen
So
Drive.
what is your address?
709 Tioga Circle in Norman,
Oh,
Oklahoma.
okay. And
I work with him. We work
Is that-
together.
Is this legal?
And he'd said that he and I had spoken.
I was going to say,
already as
he's
well,
been emailing
but
me back and forth.
He was okay with the changes that we had
Yeah,
discussed.
he said that he is willing to
okay?
move the fence back away from or forward, wherever you guys had wanted him to move it. His just initial,
Hey, could you hold on one second?
Yes.
I'm sorry. What, Laura?
Yeah.
So I think she is confirming, and she can, if you want, we can finish this thought, and then what I was going to say is I think Mr. Garland and I have already talked about all of this. I had told him if he was going to have someone come on his behalf, he needed to let us know that you're authorized to speak for him because you're not on the application.
yeah,
So,
that's why.
But he and I had talked as well.
Okay.
So let me just briefly kind of, the
Is that legal?
this, so I don't think she's technically authorized to agree to things on his behalf because we
So,
don't have,
I'd like to hear from our attorney.
Oh, right. So if she would not be able to, if there were specific conditions that the commission wanted to impose on the certificate of appropriateness, she would not necessarily be, it would probably be appropriate for a continuance. But if this is going to be something that staff has already discussed with the applicant, then it's appropriate to
Just
proceed,
providing
not necessarily
information.
hang it up. Right.
Okay, but can't make a decision for the applicant.
Right.
Okay. All right, sorry about that. We need to be legal here.
Totally understandable.
oh,
Yeah.
let me give a little bit of background because this is kind of an odd situation. There was sidewalks were put in along Classen Boulevard, which is on the west side of this property. He is right on the western boundary of Heritage Hills. So that sidewalk and then the adjacent retaining wall that was replaced are technically just outside the boundary of the district and are on city property. When the city did that work, they also came in and removed and then removed and replaced a fence for the applicant. The one along that retaining wall is technically on city property and just outside the boundary of the district. The one that runs across the front yard is within the district and required a CA. So there was some miscommunication about that, and the applicant has since submitted this application for a CA for the fence. It is forward of the 40% setback requirement. Staff felt like there was justification for that based on the shape of the property and the kind of odd configuration of the backyard, as well as the proximity to Classen and heavy traffic there, pedestrian traffic that comes up that sidewalk along the side of their yard to that front corner. The one concern that we had that Ms. Powers,
Yes, ma'am.
that Ms. Powers was addressing is that the fence butts into the windowsill at the side of the house and has like a little notch
And you can kind of see it
around
right there.
Yeah.
It's that little white corner.
Which is not really an appropriate installation method. So we talked with the applicant about maybe pulling the fence forward just enough that it is fully in front of that window and doesn't have a little notch cut out of it. And he said in advance of the meeting that he would not be able to be here, but that he was fine with that if the commission wanted to add that condition to an approval.
Is this, that photograph right here, Katie, that's the corner, right?
Yes.
So there's,
Yes,
that's the
what
corner
we're-
of the house, so really there's not much there, just a little bit,
Yep, it would just be a couple of inches forward so that
Yeah.
it's
maybe 6.
forward of that window. Yep.
Okay, but not aligning with the corner itself, still set back some?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Okay,
I mean, I would make a motion to approve HPCA 1900-108 with the specific findings as noted by the staff in the staff report and the unique circumstances, in addition to one condition that the fence be moved in front of the window.
Relocate it between the
Relocate.
window trim and the front wall,
in the corner?
the corner?
Let's say, can we do something like halfway or something like that, just so,
Oh, so they don't put it right even with the house?
yeah, just,
Or, I don't know, whatever staff's suggestions are.
I second that.
okay. It's been moved by Joe Meacham and seconded by Neela Crank Clement. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Been approved.
All right, well, I'll let him know. Thank you.
HPCA 19-113 at 920 Northwest 18th Street, Messer Park, Ward 6. Consideration and possible action on application by Jeff Blake, Gumerson Blake, for Lisa Weaver for certificate of appropriateness to, and I'm not going to read all the items, this is the big list, but it's renovations to the house and to the garage as well, and some landscaping features. So I'll let the applicant walk you through the project.
Hello, my name is Bill Dinger. I work at the same company as Jeff Blake. He was unable to attend today, so I'm here in his stead.
Okay. Oh, can you state your address?
Business address is 4019 North Classen Boulevard.
Okay, same. All right. And if you would sign in also, please.
Sign in.
Yeah, there's a sheet of paper there.
Okay.
There are a number of conditions on some of the items that staff has recommended approval on. Have you agreed to those conditions, Mr. What?
Dinger.
What? Dinger.
Yeah. Yes, I've provided some additional information that I hope would address those satisfactorily. Do we want to just take them? I only bought one copy. I gave one copy to Angela,
Are these
and I've got one.
Are these significant additions or changes?
I think.
Well, I think there's some clarifications that were asked for on the form. Specifically, as I went through my list, item 1, we seem to be okay. Demolish the stairs on the west side of the garage. That seems to be all right. On item 2, the owner has directed us to say we're going to replace all the siding, so it'll be wood historic siding to match the existing. So we're not going to be patching, we're going to be replacing. Item 3 appears to be okay. And so we have some concrete steps at the rear of the house that we're going to remove and replace with a brick patio and steps that kind of go a different direction, because we're wanting to put in a accessory to the driveway so that the owners can back out of the garage and drive down the driveway, towards the street instead of backing all the way to the street. Item 4 looks to be okay. Item 5 seems to be okay from what I could tell. Okay, well, wait a minute. No, let's see. Let's back up on that. Okay, on the recommended specific findings, on number 2, it says that documentation fully illustrating the proposed window must be submitted to staff. Okay, so that is something that I've included in that handout. It's just simply a detail, a heritage, casement heritage series, fixed window. That's all, and that's the first page on top of there.
Okay, one moment. There are a few that do require additional documentation. I know you said you've provided that, but we've not seen that additional documentation before now. I don't know, Katie, is that something that you're comfortable looking through?
So I think all of these were recommended for approval with the condition that complete documentation of various kind of typical materials be submitted to staff. I'm just scanning really quickly to make sure there wasn't some more burdensome condition.
Right.
So I think what staff would want to see is that it's approved with those conditions still attached to it, and then we can go through these materials after the meeting to verify we have everything we need. And if it's all here, then that's fine, and you don't need to do anything else.
Okay.
But because the commission hasn't had time to see this, and we haven't had time to go through it, we want to still have that condition as part of the approval.
And if there's something that does not meet the guidelines, they would come back before commission.
Yep.
Yes, as part of our submittal is a photograph, a historic photograph. You probably saw that in there. And in that photograph, it shows that window to be a single pane window. So that's what we're going back with. It's not 1/1, it's single pane. Okay, and then same thing applies to, the same window details apply to item 13, which are the windows at a mudroom in back that we're remodeling. And the existing windows on the west are quite large, and the owner wanted to reduce those down to have a little more room on the wall to hang things, but yet to allow some light into the room. And so those are, that west elevation of the mudroom shows those smaller windows there to allow light, and they are also fixed glass or fixed pane. So the same details apply as the other window. Okay, item 2, under that, demolish existing curbing and driveway, install new driveway. Okay. So as part of the drawings that I just handed to you guys, I guess Katie's referring to, I provide a little more documentation on the driveway. The idea here is that, once you get up to the front porch, this side is pretty level and it doesn't drain very well. So the idea was to rebuild the driveway and lower it some. And so on that sheet, that site plan sheet that was just given to you, it shows where the existing grades are and where the proposed grades are. And so all we're trying to do there is get good drainage from the backyard down the driveway to the front. Okay, and then there's a couple of photographs which I took this morning to try to illustrate a little bit of what we're doing. There's you'll see there I'm sorry, you just have one set of photographs, but we're taking the driveway out down to an existing control joint that's near the front sidewalk. And so all the driveway in back of that comes out and will be lowered some. And then there's on the neighbor's side, there's a retaining wall there. And it will be cut at the same point so that everything going to the south will be redone. The driveway and the little wall will both be redone. And so color and texture to match. Okay.
I'm not sure that I understood that. I don't know if the commission's following that. Sorry, you have a lot of items, Bill.
Yeah, I'm not following it. But I'm looking at your recommendation, so I think.
So with the driveway and the curbing, that's item 1 on the staff report. Is that right?
I guess I'm down to the staff report. There's 21 pages here. Yeah, it's the one that refers to the driveway, whichever.
Okay, so that one was recommended for continuance with findings that replacement of the driveway has no adverse effect, alteration of the slope has not been well defined, the finish has not been addressed, and that the curb appears to be the end of a retaining wall at the abutting property. Disruption may adversely affect the abutting property. So I see you've given us an additional site plan that has numbers
on the site
grade.
plan, the information on the site plan is just to illustrate the slope that we're proposing in order to get from the garage down to that control joint. Mm-hmm. Initially, I didn't have those additional. I'm just trying to show. For example, at the stair to not the front stairs, but the stair just to the right of the structure, essentially what we're doing is the driveway will be 6 inches lower there than it is now.
So typically what we've gotten from folks when they're changing the slope of the driveway is a section so that we can see because these numbers don't mean anything to me. It might mean something to some other folks, but that might be something that we can work
So
out
do you want
administratively.
like a longitudinal section all the way
Yeah.
through the driveway?
Yeah, of the existing slope and then
We can do that.
Okay. I think maybe we can continue that one and work through that with staff.
Okay.
I have a question about the driveway. There's a parking area proposed behind the house?
Yes.
That seems kind of unusual. It's paved right now with bricks?
It is. It does have bricks there. It's not to the extent of what we're showing there. It's similar. It's not really meant to be, to drive on. As I said, the problem here in terms of what the client was wanting was that the way the garage sits now, it's extremely difficult to pull into that parking space on the left side of the garage and get out of the garage and back down the driveway. At least it is for this individual. And so, what we're trying to accomplish here is this is in concert with the change to the garage. We're moving the first floor of the garage back, and that way you've got a kind of a conventional 24-foot distance like you would in any parking lot in order to be able to back up. The car behind the house is shown with the back end on the left side, so it's backed into that direction, and then you can go forward and go out. Additionally, you could just come in and park there, and then...
Well, I guess, Bill, I think my point is, why do we need that parking concrete behind the house? Seems like that's a lot of paving. Most dimension from the house to the garage, I don't have a problem with that, setting it back. But I don't see the need for a parking space behind the house. Anybody else have a feeling on that?
I agree.
I agree also.
So that was my question. The dimensions
Okay.
are fine as far as the garage.
Okay.
To me. There's also the 24 feet. There's also still, a few feet to the house where looks like the AC units are. So.
Well, as I said, this kind of design was predicated on providing that parking space because the stairs that come out of the mudroom now go straight to the south. They go out in the backyard. Mm-hmm. So obviously, you couldn't have a parking space there if the stairs were going to the south. Right. So we replaced those stairs with stairs that go, along the side of the house, and that's kind of how it all panned out. We thought that would be okay because we're not exceeding any lot coverage, number one. Number two, it's in back of the house. So we didn't think that would be that bad.
I will just say that we typically have pretty minimal review of paving, at-grade paving in backyards, as long as they're not going over thresholds that are, related to building permits for lot coverage, impermeable surfaces in your lot coverage. If it was proposed to be a, concrete patio at the back of the house, or even a pretty substantial deck off the back of the house, I don't think we would have any objection to the configuration of that, and it's something that, on its own, we would typically administratively approve adding some paving in the backyard. I think because it is part of the driveway and it is kind of described and shown as a parking space, it sparks a little bit different reaction. But that amount of paving is not above and beyond what we've seen people add for patios and that kind of thing in backyards.
Well, there's not much of a backyard left. Just looking at it, that's a lot of concrete for that lot. I don't know what the rule is for coverage, but...
Pretty much if your front yard is not paved,
that's it.
You're usually in pretty good shape. I wonder if it stopped at the edge of the house, And if you
That
had
would be
landscaping
better.
continue down the side yard, if that would
help.
be less.
I think that's a good suggestion.
We can do that. It just helps, we'll be having some drainage, likely will be going that direction as well. When we started off the project, we weren't removing the west stair, so there was no way to drain, on the west side of the house. Now the west stair is being taken out, then we can get some drainage down that way and also most of it down the driveway. So that's mainly why that's there, but we can take it out.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. With the stairs coming out, now you can see to the back, so you would see that paving potentially. So if you just pulled it back, even with a house, wouldn't be as visually offensive.
And I guess you could label it patio, and it'd be okay.
We can do that. I'll take the car off, put patio.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, show some chairs.
Okay.
Okay, so shall we take off that back part of that then? Is that acceptable? Take off the left side of it?
Yeah, that would be more acceptable. I still think it's a lot of concrete, but
I too think it's a lot of concrete, and the more we put down impermeable surfaces, the less chance we have that water can soak into the ground, and there's more flooding, and yada, yada. So, ideally, that would not be part of this application.
could you do that parking/patio with brick pavers? With brick pavers?
You mean like with just on sand or something so that it drains through them or something?
Well, yeah, that would be good, but so not concrete. Just
Oh, well, the brick pavers that are there, we were planning on using for those steps and
Yeah.
that other part.
yeah, that's good. Not enough to do the parking/patio.
The guidelines do encourage permeable paving surfaces. Technically, by city code, you're not supposed to park on permeable surfaces, but if it's just a space to maneuver, for the most part, that might be acceptable.
I know there's been a lot of discussions with the city about how to amend that maybe with the permeable paving, talking about maybe doing alternative parking lot designs where you have some kind of stabilized material that's permeable, but so that hasn't happened yet though.
Yeah, on this one, I think brick would be appropriate because of the brick back porch. And the drawing on the back porch does not say reused brick, but
Yes, it doesn't, but that's the idea.
you're going to, okay. So that's
It's there, it's available, so.
What do you think about doing that area with brick pavers to make it look less like a driveway?
Okay. So, Alan, where can I still have a concrete curve there, or does that whole thing need to be brick?
You mean along the edge of the paving?
Well, in other words, if I follow this 9-foot 5-inch radius curve back, if that's concrete and then the rest of it to the left is brick or something, I don't know.
I think a curve would be okay.
Yeah, I think it'd be tough to do that in brick and then have the brick stay there, for any length of time, so. Yeah, I think that'd help.
What do y'all think?
I think something like that would work because it would give it, chances are, people could use it either way. It might turn out that they don't have that much trouble backing out.
It might be a patio.
Right. You could always, it's kind of a double use doing it like that.
Okay, so then where then are you picturing the extent of the brick on the right side of where the car is? About how far over?
I would go lining up with the edge of the garage.
Line up the edge of the garage, okay.
Or the end of that curve.
Okay.
That's fine.
Okay, so we will put brick pavers in there.
All right, anybody else have comments?
There's a lot of items, so, it took a while to look over this, but I think,
A lot of stuff here.
yeah, everything really seemed pretty, I didn't see anything that raised any red flags necessarily, and I think it'll increase the usability of the house and still maintain the historical character of everything. So I didn't see any other red flags necessarily.
Okay.
So what about the handrail? Have we nothing?
So,
You
yeah,
don't
I
want a
think the
color
handrail, we've gotten that straightened out since the staff report went out, so just a little point of clarification with the applicant. I think we can approve that. Are there any conditions we need to attach to that?
Did you all get drawings or a style or something? Is that how you?
Yes, I think we figured out what the drawings were showing.
Oh, okay.
That's basically it. I think we've got what we needed.
Is that okay? Is the handrail okay then?
Yes.
Okay, great. Let's see, what else?
I kind of have a general comment, not really specific to this case, but it's always nice to have existing site plans and proposed site plans. I'm not sure, maybe there's existing site plan here and I'm missing it, but that's always helpful when we're comparing.
Okay. We did have a survey done, I could have included that, but
That would have been good.
no. There's not much that's changed except for this, except for the area where the car is, the handrail in front, and we do have a sidewalk on the west side of the garage going up to a little stoop. That's new. So, but
Okay.
Bill, I'm not sure if you noticed on your staff report documentation that was attached, the site plan, staff has written in there that there's an item down at the bottom that's not included in the staff review because it talks about rerouting water. It wasn't one of your listed items.
what page are we on?
So that is going to be the site plan itself in the staff report as initially submitted. That is page 27 of 38.
Okay. I guess I don't have that. All right. The first note here says a new 5.5 by 24-inch concrete curb footing, top at 4 to 5 inches above grade. So that's going to confine the water, between that curb and the house. Okay. Okay, Angela is referring to a note on the back of the garage where we're indicating the direction of drainage. And so to accomplish that, that's one of the problem areas on the site is the drainage in back of this garage. And so what we're proposing to do is to kind of create a sort of a crown in back of the garage and either slope the water down to the right of the garage, down a kind of contained sluice, if you will, to the driveway. And on the left side, just get it around the corner so it can get into the backyard and then it would go either down the driveway or to the west side of the house. So we're just trying to get water out of the backyard.
Right.
So in your staff report initially, what you see down at the bottom, is Xed out. That wasn't included for your review. It was marked out intentionally by staff because it wasn't clear to us that rerouting of that water is not going to be protecting the abutting property. But the new plan that Bill has brought in for you to look at, that's what he's just explained to you, is how that water is going to be rerouted there. It's fully documented. We've seen it. You've discussed it. It's included as part of the driveway. So if it's possible, Laura, I'm not sure if that can still be included in the approved items. It's not an itemized item in the staff report.
Was it listed on the
Part of the
agenda?
driveway. No.
Okay.
Part of the driveway.
And there's lots of bits and pieces that are not called out individually.
If it could be considered part of the driveway
Driveway.
work, then it would still be appropriate to
Okay.
consider today.
Thank you. It's up to you.
Okay. More questions? Can somebody attempt?
So it looks like the only item we need to continue then is item 1, to give time for the applicant to provide a section, existing and proposed section, to...
Yes, and I would say let's do that to the November 7th meeting, and we can potentially administratively approve that in the interim.
Okay. All right.
So for conditions that we're looking at a new site plan and an elevation of the driveway. Are those the two drawings? Because the site plan would indicate the brick,
Yeah, we'll show the brick on there.
and then the other drawing is what you requested, the elevation, a section through the driveway.
Yep.
Okay.
We need a site plan, though, for item 1?
A new site plan.
We're
will-
going to get a new site plan for
Anyway,
a
but-
number of things.
Okay, but the...
Okay.
Okay, I'll move to continue HPCA 19-00113 with the specific findings listed in the staff report.
Continue item 1.
Item 1.
I don't think you said.
Item 1,
Yes.
sorry, yeah. Continue this item so that the applicant can work with staff, provide a section of the drive
Site plan.
and site plan.
Right.
To the November 7th.
November 7th, sorry, yes,
It's a group effort.
right.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved by Neela Crank Clemson, seconded by Klaus Ryman Phillip. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, item 1 is continued. We'll try for the remainder.
Can I lump these together? Okay. Move to approve HPCA 19-00113, items 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, with the specific findings in the staff report, as well as conditions and unique circumstances.
Big favors?
And really, item 15, we need to change the findings, right? Can I add findings to 15 as part of this motion?
Yep.
Okay. Still leave 1, and that the applicant has already provided what you need to determine if it's appropriate, or he will provide it. Katie? What you got today, is that sufficient
Yes.
documentation?
I would just go with the same additional documentation that you
Okay.
provided to staff, just to make sure our bases
So that's a
covered.
condition then for item 15, that additional documentation will be provided to staff. Okay, is there anything else? Anybody?
Brick pavers?
We need a revised site plan, yes, that the applicant will provide a revised site plan to staff. And also, we need something about adding, in lieu of poured concrete, where's my site plan? At the back of the property, right next to the house.
I think that is actually part of item 1, which was continued.
Okay.
So we'll
All right.
just incorporate that
Okay.
with.
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that's my motion.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
You're almost done, Bill. Okay, it's been moved by Neil Clements and seconded by Klaus Roman Philip. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it's been approved. And Bill has just left the room. So. All right, next.
All right, HPCA 19-114 at 634 Northwest 20th Street, Master Park, Ward 6. Consideration and possible action on application by Craig Cook, Oasis Real Estate, for certificate of appropriateness to 1, add covered parking at side of dwelling elective, and 2, relocate fence elective. A little bit of refresh on this property. The commission previously approved the removal of the wraparound portion of the front porch, which we documented to be not historic. And we also approved the installation of a driveway in the former location of that wraparound portion of the porch. The applicant had initially proposed extending the porch to create a porte-cochere there, and that was not approved, but we discussed coming back with a different proposal to create some kind of sort of separate parking cover on the side of the house. This is an unusual or possibly unique property in that directly behind the house, only a few feet away from the rear wall, is another multifamily dwelling. So there is nowhere on the site to build a garage or to really put any kind of accessory structure in a non-visible location. So they are back before you today with a proposal to add covered parking at the side. And staff's main concern with the documentation was that the drawings didn't appear to quite line up with the house as far as what the porch roof looks like now and what the proposed drawing showed. But
did you get the email? I emailed you one back that same day with the structure moved further back towards it basically.
I think that did make it in here. I think it still looked like the height of the porch roof was off from the height of what's currently there. The space between the roof of the porch and the top of the window doesn't look
a little off.
Accurate.
On that photograph right there, I assume this is current.
Yes.
Did we approve just the solid low wall at the end of the porch? I can't remember.
Yes, that matches the other
Part
side
of the
porch.
All right. That looks good. I'd hate to see you, actually, I was trying to have this cover.
Based on our past, I don't really see how, I don't understand the covering thing. I mean, we just had a very similar case that we denied in the end.
Did that house not actually have a garage in the back?
That's not really part of our, I mean, it doesn't, I mean, my problem with that is that when we read the guidelines, it doesn't say, but if there's some other weird things going on, you can do this. That's what I kind of feel like. I mean, it's unfortunate.
It does say unusual circumstances.
Unusual circumstances, but, I mean, covered parking, and this is what we have just recently, I think, said to somebody else, was we are just not, we do not, it's not in our guidelines or in the thing to provide covered parking. That, you know, people buy houses and they have a certain condition, and historic districts have, you know, unique circumstances themselves, and when you purchase the property, you're buying that unique circumstance. So I don't feel like that for me, the unique circumstance is not there to approve covered parking.
And I don't know that there is a unique circumstance with this house on a small lot with no garage. I think you'll find this condition on other blocks.
So the circumstance of this property is the lot
hold on, in this neighborhood. So now you can speak. Go ahead.
Oh, so the circumstance of this property, part of this lot was actually sold to build the duplex behind the house. You literally have maybe 4 feet of backyard behind the house, if that.
In this area, in Mesta Park, there are houses mid-block, no driveway. It's not uncommon. So, I mean, this to me is that circumstance. It's a house, I mean, it just, and that's why there's that one street on 21st or 22nd, that there's always cars on the street, because there's houses on that block that do not have driveways.
There's also houses across the street that were built in the 70s that all got all kinds of special circumstances approved for them.
Yeah, I will say, besides the parking issue, one thing that I actually think turned out really nice on the house that you renovated is the way the porch roof, you know, it's always kind of tricky. How do you terminate the roof, and how does the roof turn the corner, and that kind of thing. And if you look at the, I don't even know what elevation, let me look at, I guess the new east elevation, maybe. You know, the roof kind of turns the corner and it terminates nicely. And with the proposed parking structure that you're showing, it looks like you'd have to basically trim off the porch roof, even with a house there to put in. And to me, that kind of results in an awkward condition. Because frankly, I mean, the way you have it now, I think the porch roof terminates really nicely and it finishes cleanly around the side of the house. And I think if you did that parking structure, the way you have it shown, when you're trimming off that porch roof, it's a little bit awkward.
The other thing I'm looking at, and that looks like the concrete drive is not built with that 9-degree corner. It's built with an angle from the driveway back to the parking space. That's a pretty usable parking area. By putting a column almost in the middle of it to support this, 2 columns, to support this canopy, makes a really narrow parking space of, I don't know, it looks like it's about 6 feet or something. I don't think it functions either.
That was kind of the original premise for demolishing that, because originally the house had that, or had that porch extension.
To provide a usable parking space, and I think what's been proposed defeats that purpose. Plus, I agree with Joe in general, so it kind of makes all this moot. That's a legal term. So I would not be in favor of the covered parking.
I'm not either. I think the guidelines are very clear, particularly 3.38, do not add a portico shear to a building where none historically existed. I think that's crystal clear.
The second item is a fence.
Yeah, so the thought of this was to move the structure back, though, so it didn't read as a portico share. It had a separate roof line, so it didn't read as a portico share.
Whether you call it a portico shear or a parking cover or an accessory building, I just don't think it's supported by the guidelines.
The fence, I'm reading through the staff report, I'm looking at a site plan, and I'm having trouble finding any information on it. Can you tell me what
So the fence is just in relation to the location of the proposed parking cover. It's just the fence that runs east-west at the side of the house where the parking cover is shown to move it back so that it would be at the rear of that parking cover.
So no parking cover, no fence, John?
Okay, I see.
Well, I don't know.
No, it would basically, the parking cover would come up to where the fence is, so we shifted it back some.
Yeah. So if we don't approve the parking cover, would you still want to move the fence?
Well, this part of the fence would not move. The fence that would move is to add a little bit of side yard on the other side of on the west side of the house.
Which is the other side of this picture?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm just,
I'm
having trouble finding information about that in the staff report.
Yeah, I may have misunderstood what was
And I'm
happening.
also not seeing it on your site plan.
I don't see a fence either on the west side.
So that was left off. It sounds like the consensus is that the parking cover is not supported by the guidelines. Staff has recommended a continuation. We can do that today to give you time if you want to try to.
Well, I mean, there's no point
if you want to try to.
No matter what I come back with, you're going to have the same stance.
Yeah, what I was saying is if you want time to try to prove your case, find a unique circumstance, otherwise the other option sounds like would be to deny this proposal.
Okay, but then the fence, it says, the application says move west side fence up. I don't see anything on the site plan that shows a fence. Anybody know?
Well, we could continue that item,
Okay.
and staff could administratively approve
Okay.
fencing separately. That's
Okay.
my fault. I misunderstood that. I just was assuming it was something related to the parking cover.
Okay.
So,
No problem. Okay.
From my own knowledge, what would be a unusual circumstance that would allow a parking, if this property
We're
doesn't-
saying that we can't find one.
So one doesn't exist then?
I don't remember.
Maybe you can find one. Yeah, I don't know.
I
We're
don't
not
remember us.
coming up with
I
anything.
don't remember us having approved a parking cover.
so I will say we've approved them numerous times.
Nope.
We've approved
Standard.
carports in backyards where they're minimally visible and where they're in the approximate location
Okay.
of a historic garage. We've also approved one right smack on the front of the house in Edgemere at a house that was split level where the historic attached garage had been converted to bedrooms with a CA, a lovely one-page CA from 1979 that said convert to bedroom, and that was all we had. But that was a property that was configured similarly to this one, where there was literally nowhere on the site that you could put any sort of covered parking. They had a ravine running down one side of the property. They had no access to the backyard for the car. And we approved a very minimal carport, flat roof, skinny little posts. It was in line with existing trim on the front of the house, so it just blends right in from the street and provides them some covered parking so that they can walk up the stairs to the front door of the house and not be in the rain and the snow.
How long ago was that?
That was within the last 3 years.
I was gonna say, is that the one that kind
So I
of goes
take that back.
downhill?
It is
So I was
set-
here.
it is set back farther from the street than the other houses around it. It's a real unusual site.
It
But
goes
I,
down and then like that.
yeah.
So it sounds like we have, as long as it's not A, visible from the street, or B, obtrusive or
Right.
on the
Some of
front.
the things we looked at with that one were that it was not tied into the house, so it was easily removable.
Reversible, yeah.
It was designed in such a way that it blended in with the architecture of the house and didn't stand out as a separate structure. It wasn't obscuring the view of existing architectural features. And the unique circumstance that we identified was that there was nowhere else on the site where they could put any sort of covered parking.
So if this gentleman wanted to propose a freestanding carport that was minimal, fit into the house, could be reversed, no other place to park.
Yeah, my main concern and my reason for recommending a continuance was just that I felt like the drawings weren't accurate when I was looking at the photos of the house and the drawings as proposed. In staff's opinion, there's a unique circumstance here with the way this property is
So it sounds
situated.
like, based on what we've done before, it might, and just for me, speaking for me, if it wasn't attached to the house and freestanding might be more acceptable.
Well, and frankly, I think that would solve my issue with the kind of roof condition, because you wouldn't touch the roof, and it would be freestanding, easily removable. So I kind of agree in the sense, not that we review every case on its own merits, but with the other kind of parking structures in recent history that I remember we denying, they had a garage, they had big backyard, other options, and I do understand that there's, it does look like you've got, like 3 feet, 4 feet on the backside. So frankly, if it's not attached to the house, you don't touch the existing porch roof, if it's easily removable and visually kind of minimal, I'm not sure that I really have a...
I have a question for you, though. If we get past that, my comment about the structure and the columns restricting the width of that parking space, is there a reason why you designed it that way with only about, looks like 6 or 7 feet of clearance?
I think you might be looking at the overhang of the roof. I think it's actually a little over 8 feet wide.
8 foot 10 from the wall. From the wall, okay, I got you. From the wall over to the new parking is shown, doesn't show it under the overhang. So 8 foot 10 would be your parking width?
Yes.
So
There's no reason why, if I was going to do it freestanding, I would go wider. I don't think closet would have to be set back from the property line.
That's kind of what I'm wondering, because it looks like maybe it's set back There's another dimension, maybe like 5 feet.
As a part of the structure, we have set it back from the property line, yes.
But how far?
I believe it's 2 feet by guidelines, or 3 feet?
I think 3 feet.
3 feet, I
3 feet,
think,
yeah.
is kind of a standard
Yeah.
minimum. I don't know, I know at 3 feet you have to fireproof, but since it's not a part of the house itself, I'm sure there's
Yeah,
some
but
different
that's something to look at. So it sounds like it might be a possibility here if you want to continue and come back with something.
I mean, the 8'10", the minimum parking space width is 8'6", so, I mean,
Yeah, but if I had all that space to work with, I would
sure, extend it out, yeah.
not want to have to dodge the column.
Yeah, for sure.
So if we continue it to the October meeting, when would he have to have additional information?
Tuesday of next week is our,
Okay. That's doable?
Going to do that?
Okay.
So what are we, do I need to, are we talking about like 4 posts, kind of a flat roof, just as
pretty
blends into the background as much as possible?
We can't design it for you.
I think
but-
we've got some commissioners that are thinking maybe that's possible, and others that are saying the guidelines don't provide for parking covers. So with that, I mean, you can kind of listen to what these two guys are saying.
yeah,
and
I
maybe
think what we've seen in the
provide
past that has
something.
been approved has been pretty minimal. You
Okay.
know, you want appropriate materials that meet the guidelines
Right.
for other types of accessory structures.
Okay.
Yeah,
And I think the key would be detached from the house.
yep.
I don't think Joe's going to vote for anything, but
I mean, the other, we don't let fences, come up that far either. I mean, that's,
It looks like you have room to move it back potentially. Would you not? I mean, I don't know. I think maybe originally we were trying to reduce the paving amount. I don't know if that was...
I'm sorry, we're not proposing moving the fence on this side of the property.
Oh, I think they're talking about that typically we wouldn't let a fence come as far
okay.
forward as this is, so would
Gotcha.
it be more appropriate to have this set farther back on the side of the house, which would
Gotcha.
minimize the visibility more?
I think you could do that. There's space, you could,
The only portion with that, if you do that, you literally lose all backyard to the property whatsoever.
we're not talking about a lot, we're talking about just not lining it up with the front.
Okay.
I think that's what we're talking
I mean, we have room to set that back off of the porch. Are we talking about the corner of the house or the corner of the porch that we would set that back?
Yeah.
well, right now it's with the corner of the house.
I wouldn't align it with the house, set it back maybe 5 or 6 feet, detach it. It's just me, but we made some comments, and you can work with staff and come back with something.
I think we'll just have to look at it, at what it makes sense to line it up with.
Okay.
What's that October meeting date?
It's October 2nd.
Okay. I'll move to continue HPCA 19-00114 to the October 2nd meeting.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is that Ann?
Yes.
It's moved and seconded. Moved by Neil Coyne Clems, and seconded by Ann Zackeritz. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, continue. Thank you. Kind of came all around on that. Last one?
HPCA 19-115 at 220 Northwest 21st Street, Heritage Hills, Ward 6. Consideration and possible action on application by Julie Ann R&J Associates for certificate of appropriateness to 1, construct addition at rear of house elective, 2, install light fixtures at garage elective, 3, install light fixture at house elective, and 4, replace roof elective.
Okay. Hello?
Yes. Hi, I'm Julie Ann.
Okay. At the address? Your address?
Yes, it's 220 Northwest 21st Street.
Okay. We record all this, that's why you have to say it.
Okay.
And you sign in, please.
I don't see a pen here. Sorry.
Is the pen gone? Did somebody take our pen? Okay. All right. Any questions on this?
You do have some comments from the Heritage Hills Review Committee that they wanted to make sure that you looked at.
Okay, had to do with windows.
So their comment was that they agree with staff, but would like to see more windows added to the east elevation of the addition.
Okay, so more
Which is
windows
the
on the
left
east
view.
elevation?
Which is the left view, I guess.
Okay, of the new addition?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay.
Of
okay.
the elevation that you submitted, it says left view.
I see what you're saying.
So the neighborhood association, the HP committee there recommended that you add more windows to that addition.
Okay. Did they recommend how many more, or a couple, 3?
Well, I mean, if you just look at the existing house, you see the fenestration pattern, there's so many windows.
Yes.
And then you get to the addition, and there's, they want something more balanced.
Okay, that's definitely doable.
And just to make it clear that that's a subcommittee of the neighborhood
Yes.
association, and they don't have any binding authority, so this
Right.
body might disagree with that.
Yeah.
But that's just.
So you could look
a
at
comment from
what's
you all.
going on inside your addition to see if that's possible, but yes, that's right. That is just a comment from the
Okay.
neighborhood, that is not this body.
Okay.
So on,
It's over my balcony. Okay. I see that right here.
on the right side, the house kind of goes in and out, the addition. What about what we're calling the left side? Is it just flat?
Yeah, are you talking
No
about this side right
distinction?
here?
It's hard to, yes, I guess, has that.
Yes, so
Do you
that's...
have your floor plan or your elevations in front of you?
Yes.
Okay,
I do.
so the left view that you submitted, if you can open that.
So where the addition meets the original structure,
Yep.
how is that being handled? Because in the guidelines, it suggests that you have an offset.
You need to differentiate between the old and the new.
Okay, so it looks like that is just continuing on, and that's
Yeah.
just flat.
So that's another good point.
That's right. So in the guidelines, what is it?
The roof is the only thing that
The roof
differentiates
is
the
different.
addition. Yeah,
I'm in
yeah.
agreement there, and I see that also.
So if the wall were to step back a little bit, maybe that would be enough of a break that you wouldn't need extra windows.
I think that would help, break up that wall.
Right.
If we move it in a little bit, or...
Yeah.
Yeah, just recess, that's one way of doing it, and that would break it up. You can do it with materials, you can do it, the roof line helps.
That was, when you said roof, that is another way that it looks different. Maybe it could be divided perhaps just with it seemed, for me, it would be perhaps I don't know, what do you call it, like a long board. That way, the siding on the back part could even be a different size, in my opinion, to make sure that it is an addition. It differentiates it from,
Okay.
that is one,
Could be
that
a
is one
different-
way, in my opinion.
Could be a different color.
Could be a different color.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways to differentiate the addition from the existing.
Yeah, so we can do a different color maybe, or a different size of the wood siding?
I would, personally, I would like to see a different size of wood. I think then it was an addition, it was done at a different time period, and you could use, and I know you're short on, I looked at the floor plan, you're short on inches, I'm sure, inside by the time. You have a small addition, you want to get every single thing that you could ever think of in the new addition. So I know it's short. I know it's you're compact already, so, taking another 6 inches is not a small thing. So,
I was just thinking the addition could be brick, too. There's a brick on the front of the house.
oh, there is brick, yeah.
Some
I don't
brick.
know, I'd rather, anyway, or whatever, but, if you had a dividing, decorative board and then a different size, to me, that's kind of the old-fashioned way of doing it. When they did additions, it was like, oh, well, they didn't have the right size, and so we did something different, That's just my thinking, but I think either windows or a shadow line, what we're looking for really is a shadow line, so, if you don't want to lose inches inside, then you might think of another way to do it on the outside without.
Okay.
So we're going to probably continue. Right? This?
Yeah, we can't put that on staff.
Right.
Right.
Do you have questions, or?
Well, if I agree to go ahead and do it differently, can we go ahead and approve it that way?
We'll need to see it.
Oh, you would need
It'll
to
be
see it,
significant
okay.
enough, I think. Don't you
Well,
think?
siding size is not significant.
Yeah, I think if
mean,
everyone's okay with a change in the size of the siding, that's something staff
I'm not
can
that crazy bad personally, but I'm just one person.
So are we saying stepping it in and changing the siding size?
No.
Or just siding size? Okay.
Kind of either or.
So how do you think we make that transition between the different sizing sizes? Like a
Vertical board.
Vertical board, okay.
Vertical.
Unless you have another idea. You have another idea?
No, I mean, I think the most elegant solution would be, I mean, you could almost just potentially just shift the whole thing as it is, you know, a foot or maybe even like 6 inches, you know, like a foot over, and I think that would set it in on this side. You wouldn't lose any square footage. I think you'd probably still be able to do your hallway to the master suite.
I would prefer not to redesign it and let her come back with a revised proposal.
Fair enough.
One way or the other, either shift it or change material.
Okay, so what are my choices?
So I think what the commission's leaning toward is a continuance to the October 2nd meeting to consider adding additional windows on the east side, or at least evaluate if that's doable, and then look for another method of differentiation on the east side. And that might be an inset if that works with the floor plan, or it might be a change in material of some type.
Okay.
So it's not a big deal, you just need to think about it. We don't want to tell you what to do.
Well, we kind of want to move on with the project as quick as possible because,
Right.
you know.
Well, I mean, what is the guideline does state that it needs to be offset, correct? Or how does that?
The guidelines, when we talk about differentiation, those.
I don't think it says offset, maybe.
It doesn't require an offset. It says that, it says numerous times that an addition needs to be differentiated, and then it goes through,
I thought
to
it
that point, it
specifically.
says, an addition to a historic building must be designed to be visibly distinguishable from the original building.
Right.
Should be designed so that connections between new construction and historic structures are clearly discernible. Clear definition of the transition between the new addition and historic structure should be established and maintained. An addition may be differentiated from the historic building by connecting with a modest connector. Historic details in coping eaves and parapets may be continued at the point where the historic structure connects. Addition should be clearly secondary. This may be accomplished by providing a clear visual break, by setting the facade of the addition back from that of the historic building, or by constructing a recessed area at the point at which the addition of the historic building join together. Use of different but compatible materials or different detailing is also appropriate to differentiate.
We've actually had one where somebody did kind of a divot.
Yeah, recess, like a reveal.
So that they still lined up, but it went, so numerous ways.
Would a change in material in the same plane with a board, vertical, is that enough?
I mean, I think that qualifies.
You think it qualifies? So, I think...
We can do a vertical board, we can do, we're fine with whatever. We just have to move on with the project.
You can't wait a month? Okay.
Yeah. Well...
Well, in that case, I mean, the...
Pick one. What do you would propose?
We can do vertical. Do you want us to do a vertical board? We can do that.
Well, that's not all.
So vertical board between the new addition and the old, and then also size differentiation from
Well, don't tell her what to do. What would you like to do?
No, I like that. I like that,
You
actually.
like a different size board, that idea? Okay.
Yeah, and then a bigger board.
Siding.
I mean, that's just an option. I'm not telling her what to do.
Yeah.
No.
That's an option.
I actually like that idea.
Mary Jo Meacham.
So what's existing is 4-inch lap?
The existing right now, it's 1 by 6.
6-inch?
Uh-huh.
So it's not, if you go to, say, 8-inch, it's not going to be that much different.
Or you could go to a smaller.
Let's be to a 4, or, I'm saying 6 is kind of close to either way, smaller or larger. You go smaller?
Did you spec that in your
I don't know, I would go maybe a little bit bigger.
wood?
I would tend to, that's more contemporary, is a wider
Oh,
board.
okay, well, we got to stay
You go wider,
open,
say
so
wider.
we'll do 1 by 4.
Yeah.
think-
I love it. Get two architects in the room, you got two different opinions.
Okay, it says match, okay, 1 by 6 wood siding,
1 by
5-inch
6.
reveal.
It doesn't have to be horizontal lap siding.
So do you want, I'm happy to make a motion with a condition. Are we ready?
What's the
Okay.
condition?
I make a motion to approve HPCA 19-00115, items 1 through 4. With this specific findings as noted by the staff in the staff report, and with the condition for number 1 under the construction of the addition that staff be provided with information showing the elevations with a just on the east side, because the other one sets back on the east side by some wood division with the siding to be different, a different scale.
Differentiated, say.
Differentiate by size from the original.
Then you can have your choice, and staff will approve it.
So, and the other condition would be that you would submit those drawings and specifications to staff prior to receiving your CA.
Okay?
Okay.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved by Mary Jo Meacham, second by Neela Crank Clements. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, been approved. with
Thank
condition.
you.
And you got what you wanted.
Yes, thank you.
I love it when everybody wins. Okay.
Nothing under other business, and couple of administrative approvals, kind of a quiet month. No
Wow.
withdrawals to report. We do have an item going to Board of Adjustment tomorrow. It's the appeal of the parking structure that was denied.
Parking structure.
Interesting time.
In Heritage?
In Heritage Hills.
Oh,
On the corner?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That one goes to Board of Adjustment tomorrow, so,
Okay.
sorry, we
What about the Airbnb in Putnam
that went to
Heights?
the Board of Adjustment 2 weeks ago
Okay,
and was approved
oh,
at Board of Adjustment.
okay.
The
For 1 year? Okay.
Airbnb was?
Yes, for 1 year. So they'll have to return and reapply after that. And then we have the appeal of the denial of the demolition of the house in Heritage Hills East, and that will go in, I think, October 12th
Okay. To Board of Adjustment.
to Board of Adjustment.
Okay. Planning
Under Planning Commission, the Urban Development Committee of Planning Commission heard the proposed amendment to Chapter 59, the ordinance addressing historic preservation designation process. Urban Development Committee heard that on August 22nd and deferred it to March of next year to allow for the preservation plan to make its way through the adoption process. That's going to be our topic at our upcoming workshop, which is next Wednesday.
The preservation plan is.
And so that's, council has the ability to move forward with a zoning amendment despite Planning Commission's recommendation. So they deferred their continued review of the item, but council could move forward anyway. So we'll keep you posted on if that is an agenda item
Right.
in the future.
Okay. It's not like it happens very often, but hey.
Yeah.
In fact, it's never happened before.
And
I
that's
don't think.
all,
The UDC is made up of 3 council members?
it's Planning Commission.
Oh, I'm sorry, Planning Commission, yeah.
Okay. Anything else on Planning Commission?
Nope. Well, Planning Commission also heard a presentation on Preserve OKC, and a little bit of discussion, not a lot of comments and questions, and was overall very positive about having a citywide approach to historic resources. So, but you
Very
all will
good.
hear lots more about that next week.
All right. Ad hoc committee, identify potential landmarks. I think has not been active.
We will have the Lester Lyons House for
yeah.
you next month
Okay, yeah.
for recommendation,
So that came
if
from...
I can finish the staff report.
Okay, municipal councilor, anything? No? Okay, next meeting date, regular scheduled meeting for the Historic Preservation Commission is October 2nd at 2 p.m. in the municipal building, City Council Chamber. New applications for this meeting were received September 3rd, 2019. New information on projects continued from today's meeting to the upcoming meeting must be submitted to staff by 4 p.m. Tuesday, September 10th, 2019. The next regularly scheduled workshop for the Historic Preservation Commission is Wednesday, September 11th, 2019, from 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. at 420 West Main, Suite 900. And then XIX, items from commissioners. Anybody want to say anything? All right. Any citizens left? Nope. All right. There being no further business, we are adjourned.
Good. Oh. Oh, okay. Nice to meet you, Brian. Do you know anybody that wants, we need commission members, or do y'all have anybody? Are you going to talk to Katie about it? It's horrible. I mean, they just destroyed their neighborhood. Right. Right. And, you know, they're so irritated. There's just, you know, it is difficult. There's just some people that, and I think this is some of it is, no, I parked in the other because I was